Michael Leckie here, and we're going to take a little bit different spin on what's the question today. Because recently someone said to me, one of the things that people are talking about all the time and people are struggling with is when they've got that real narcissistic, maybe even sociopathic, but let's just go with narcissistic for right now, boss or manager in their organization. You're probably not going to go in and ask them some of the questions I advocate. Like I would advocate they be asking themselves, when was the last time I was wrong? And that we ask that of each other. But if you go in and ask your narcissistic boss, hey, boss, when was the last time you were wrong? They're probably going to look at you and say, well, yesterday when I didn't fire you, but I'll fix that mistake right now. It's not going to work out very well, right? Because you're asking these questions that show up, in the book here, The Heart of Transformation. Generally, you're asking these of yourself and of others in a relatively healthy organization, i.e., meaning there's still dysfunction, there's still problems, there's still mistaken beliefs, there's still people doing the wrong things, but there's not sociopaths and criminals all around you. Unfortunately, you can find some of those people in organizations. So this person was asking me, how do these questions help here? And it was a really interesting thing to think about. I came up with two things I wanted to share with you. The first one is the question, what is my blind spot, which I call the problematic patterns question, is a good, insightful question, but it can be a really good one in dealing with those bosses. If you think about what is their blind spot, don't ask them, for God's sake, but observe, think about that, and look for their problematic patterns. What are the patterns they have that aren't working for them? They'll probably do things to cover up for that, but understanding where their blind spots are is basically, to be blunt, one of the first ways of finding out what their weaknesses are so you can get through or around them with other people that don't share them. Not saying it's going to be easy, but looking at their blind spots and then being able to address what's in that blind spot better than somebody else certainly can give you a bit of an advantage. The other question I thought was interesting is from my section on changing before protecting, and that is, what am I afraid to do? And this is the find your fear question. Now, most often this is asked as, hey, what am I afraid to do here? Because that might be the thing that really needs doing, but I'm not ready to. But oftentimes the fear will show you where to go. Well, it's no different here. What are you afraid to do with that narcissistic boss? And probably it's something like this: tell the truth and get fired. That's what you're afraid to do. Tell the truth and end up getting fired. I can tell you, as somebody who has quit jobs and somebody who has lost jobs, been fired from jobs before, that sometimes that can be the greatest thing in the world. I will never forget leaving a job, and I knew it was probably going to be leaving it, but I decided to give it one more chance. And then that day I decided to give it one more chance. They decided not to. And I found myself literally within a couple of hours standing out on the street with no badge to the building, with no job, and just needing to get on a train and go home. And I stood outside and I looked at myself for a second. I looked around the city and I thought, I just lost my job. Yes. And I was so excited. I was so free. And quite frankly, it was a moment that changed my life and moved me forward in saying, okay, the worst has happened. Now all I've got to do is get to work. And I found out not only wasn't it so bad, it was actually pretty awesome. So that question, when you're in a place where you're dealing with someone who is narcissistic or sociopathic, you're working for, asking yourself, what am I afraid to do? And it may be walking away, might be the best question to ask, because that might be the thing you need that sets you free, as opposed to the pain of working for that individual if you can't get through them or can't get around them.